Okay, first question for the multitude. What words do you have for Ginny and I and our audience as we begin this new endeavor?
It is important to understand, my dear, that when one comes to the earth plane, one decides what it is that one needs to understand, know, hear, and allow. In our estimation, it is important that you understand that you have come to allow yourself to grow. You have come to allow yourself to expand yourself on many levels of your being and many levels of your understanding. In our estimation, it is right that you ask this question, and it is quite pertinent to your growth opportunities. We would highly recommend that you not be so concerned about what is right for everyone else, but allow yourself to understand that what is right for you is also right for everyone else. We would like you to understand that in this endeavor that you have engaged, it is right that you continue to ask and we continue to respond. Thank you so much for listening.
I like that. So that right away is validating the self-connection,
right,
that we came up with, the self-connection. It always comes back to the self. Okay. Want to do another one?
Yeah. Just keep going.
So let's see. Well, what do they have to share and say, and any insights on this name that we've come up with, the self-connection?
We think it is quite appropriate, as that is exactly what it is that we aim to, it's like encounter, but aim to pursue on the earth plane, as those on the earth plane are sure of who they are in one respect, but not in other. We would like each one to understand that there is far more to each one than that which meets the eye. There is that part of one that expands on the physical plane, and that part of one that expands on the spiritual plane. And when one allows each one on the physical plane to connect with their self on the spiritual plane, otherwise known as the super self, each one is able to not only understand who they are, but to engage with who they are. As there is a great deal more in spirit than there is with that person on the earth plane. When the person on the earth plane allows oneself to connect with that part of self in spirit, one allows the energy to flow, one allows the information to flow, and one allows the all that is to step in. When one allows the all that is, a great deal more is able to be accomplished, as the all that is the doer, and the information conveyed is from the spiritual self to the physical self, and the all that is helps each one move forward in the best way possible. When it is right, one knows. When it is time, one knows. And when it is that it is ready, and all is love.
Okay. So just keep going, even though that timed out.
That's funny.
Because you don't have
recording in progress.
Oh, okay.
Must have been the
cloud
or the Wi-Fi.
Oh, maybe. Okay. So, okay. So for our listeners hearing this maybe for the first time, the term super self, we've often talked about the higher self. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But I'm going to ask, what is the most practical way for folks to connect to the super self? So the multitude just said when it is that one connects to the part of you, not in physical, like in spirit. So I'm asking for practical guidance for those who maybe this is new for. How is it that they connect to themselves?
We would like you to understand that it is all built in, so to speak. If one opens one's heart to oneself, one allows the connection. When one decides it is right for one to be who one is, one allows. And when one allows, the connections are made. We would highly recommend that one take the opportunity to quiet themselves down on the earth plane. It is not necessary to be so go, 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 do, do, do. It is, however, necessary to allow oneself to be who one is and allow oneself to connect with oneself. We would highly recommend that you not be concerned about the hows. Just understand that when the time is right, the time is right. We would also like each of you to understand that when it is that one moves forward from that sense of self and knowing, and one allows oneself to be who one is, one allows all that one needs, whether it be on the earth plane or the spiritual plane. It is a matter of allowing, my dear. And when one allows, great things can happen, both on the physical plane and the spiritual plane. We would also like you to understand that when it is that one moves forward from this sense of knowing, one is able to expand themselves in a higher and greater way, as it is the sense of knowing that allows oneself to be a higher and greater self. That sense of saying, hey, I'm here on the earth plane. I've come to allow myself the delicacies of life. I've come to allow myself to expand. I've come to allow myself to grow. When one allows oneself to be on the earth plane in one's knowing self, one will allow oneself to expand oneself to the higher and greater planes of self. It is important to understand that as when one moves forward in one direction, one moves forward in all directions. And in our estimation, it is the only way one can move forward. In our estimation, however, my dear, it is not a matter of searching. It is a matter of breathing, understanding, and allowing yourself to be who you are, where you are, and when you are. And all is love.
So I want to unpack that. Can I?
Good idea.
So, because there's so much there. Because some of this language is new for our viewers. The idea of allowing and just being, and what does that mean? What does that look like? And how the multitude said, you don't have to keep doing, searching. It's like, I think so much of the human experience is making decisions based on what we perceive outside of us, how other people respond, what the consequences are for other people, what the decision might lead to next, and that all like plays a role in when we try to make a decision. But what I keep hearing from the multitude is like to go inward and find the answers within, and really sit with yourself, breathe, connect to what you know, and not all this outward stimulation of the what ifs. That's really more, it can be more fear-based decision making versus what's true and right for me and what feels right in my own knowing. And I think that most people don't do that as much unless they're in the practice of this work. Wouldn't you say, from your own experience? It's about when you're faced, because I keep thinking like, okay, when you're faced with a decision, and it could be any little decision, like, okay, what am I going to do today? Or a larger decision of like, am I going to start this new endeavor? Well, what does it mean? How will people judge me? Or what are the consequences to my kids? And how and all this head work kind of comes into play in your decision making, where what I heard the multitude say was, just connect into your own truth, your own knowing, what you feel is right for you, and any path forward is a path forward. There's no wrong answers. There's growth in every choice.
We would like you to understand, my dear, you are correct in some areas and not others.
Okay.
It is important to understand that when one moves forward, one does from the inner self. One allows the information to flow. One allows the information to grow. And one allows then the all that is to step in with the physical explanation of the one allows the all that is to step in and enhance the physical participation. In our estimation, it is not a matter of moving forward within oneself. It is a matter of opening up to what's already there. As most of you have lived many lifetimes of learning and being, and have accumulated a great deal more information and knowledge than one can understand on the physical plane. We would like you to understand, as it is that you open your heart to yourself, feel what is right for you, feel what it is that it means to be who you are, and allow the information to flow. You will allow the all that is to step in and help on the physical plane. However, you will also allow the information to flow from you in spirit to you in physical. And in the allowing, you will allow yourself to move forward. In our estimation, it is the only way it can be, as the information once learned cannot be unlearned. It can only be enhanced or changed or moved forward, and all is love.
Wow, so okay. So what I get from that is we've learned, I mean, you and I both believe in past lifetimes.
Right.
And the multitude obviously supports that. Well, they may have more to say on that. But so the idea that your soul has traversed several lifetimes, learned things in other lifetimes, and if you open up to yourself in spirit, you can actually bring in that knowing, whatever it is you learned in those lifetimes, to the here and now. Right? Isn't that what you got out of that?
Well, that's what I know to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, I've channeled so much information to that subject that it's like, it's kind of like second nature to me. I believe it, I know it, and it's like, yes, I agree.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, a lot of people on a spiritual path will say, oh, it's remembering. It's about remembering and not learning.
Yeah.
Because the things that resonate are things that you've heard once before, just maybe not in this lifetime.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's more than remembering, my dear. It's about allowing yourself to be who you are. When one remembers, one can remember many things correctly or incorrectly. When one knows who one is, one can only allow those parts of self, one's knowing, to flow through energetically. It is important to understand that when one believes that there is a problem, there is a problem. And if one remembers there being a problem, there could also just be a problem. In our estimation, it is about knowing what is right for oneself, knowing and understanding those parts of selves that move themselves forward. And when it is accomplished, it can only be accomplished by allowing, as there is really not learning involved. It is just about allowing what you already know to come through and then move yourself forward on the earth plane. It is how it is, and all is love.
I like that.
Good.
I'm so cold right now, are you? Like it's the
getting
energy.
colder, but
don't you, it feels more
but
like
the
the
heat
energy.
just clicked on, so it's cold.
Yeah, but I feel it's the energy.
I don't feel cold from the energy.
I do.
Is that how your body reacts?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, a lot of times. Especially when something new comes in,
Oh,
because
okay.
I can feel it all shaking, but it feels like cold. Well, let's ask about that, because everyone experiences energy differently. So maybe they can give, because I you know me, I always love to connect the physical with the spiritual and try to make sense of it. So I'll use myself as a guinea pig if they want to explain that phenomenon that I am feeling right now, but also how others might also perceive energy so that they can begin learning how to connect to themselves in that way.
It is important to understand that each one has experienced many different lifetimes in many different areas. And when one is requiring information on the earth plane in this current lifetime, one connects with the lifetime. It's like where that information was learned, created. It is important to understand that some lifetimes are very different than others. And when one recreates the experience of where one has learned what, one feels the connection, which can show itself as cold or heat or indignance or any of the feeling selves. It does not matter. It is how it is that one has experienced it, learned it, and brings it forth within oneself. When one feels the coldness, for instance, it is allowing information learned in an endeavor or a lifetime experience where one has either felt physical cold or felt the coldness of being left out or, not included in a way one believed one should have been, or in such a way as to allow the all that is to step in and remove them from the situation.
Oh,
that's
so
interesting.
it's a healing.
It's not necessarily a healing. It's like
integration.
The experience. When one is no longer requiring an experience, the all that is will step in with a distraction of a sort and remove that person's thought process, that person's focus and ability to be in that time space and move it to another direction. Therefore, one is not necessarily leaving the experience. One is, however, changing the experience and moving forward differently. We would highly recommend that you not be concerned about the hows. Just understand that there are those helpers, such as those in the all that is, who will step in when the time is right and the experience is no longer required. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Well, I know not to be concerned and all that, but you know me. I like to know things. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, but what came to mind as they were saying that was like perhaps there was an experience in another life. It feels like a trauma that whatever the energy was in that life could be somehow similar to the energy that I might be experiencing right now. Maybe it's nerves, like this is our first time doing the video, and so in the back of my mind is like, how are others perceiving this, right? And so if I connected to a lifetime of others perceiving whatever that instance was, and there was persecution or trauma or whatever.
And that's what I
for
got
that.
to is persecution. Too.
Yeah. Well, and that always comes up for you and I.
Yeah.
But then it felt like, okay, you know how we always say like, oh, we're in this life to heal the traumas of our past lives? That perhaps doing this is a way of healing that. And that whole, the shivers that I'm feeling, I'm still feeling it, by the way, is a way to integrate that trauma and kind of like, you don't have to connect to the trauma of the experience anymore. Is that what that?
Well, you certainly don't have to connect to the trauma of the experience. Or you don't even have to know what the experience is, but you do have to feel the feeling, which is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you can feel that feeling, you can allow it to heal itself. There's not really anything you can do for it. You can only feel
It's
it.
just to
And
allow this and not be like, what is
Right.
this? Why is, I feel like I'm cold. Let me put a blanket on. Turn the heat up. It's really to just
feel it and
observe
acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to know why it's there. You just have to know that
Right.
it's there.
So that's interesting. Feel the
Right.
feeling to heal the feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
In our estimation, my dear, it is the only way things can be healed from past life traumas or even experiences that may have been positive experiences. As when you bring a positive experience through, you allow yourself to feel the joy. When one allows oneself to feel the joy, it also allows the body to act and counteract in such a way as to allow the joy to permeate through and within one. Do not be concerned, all is love. I never heard that before.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
It settled down just now.
Good.
That's so interesting.
Good. We would like you to understand, my dear, that trauma feeling that you were feeling is a quite legitimate feeling. And you feel it in times when you are stressed. And you feel it in times when you believe that there is, it's like dissension, because I can feel all the chaos, the chaos and dissension. And when it is that you allow yourself to understand that, yes, that is happening to a certain extent in this lifetime, you are healing the greater extent of another lifetime. As there have been many lifetimes you have lived and experienced, and you are allowing yourself now the healing of the not only traumatic but pleasant experiences. And as you bring through the pleasantness of an experience, you will heal the chaos, the chaotic, it's like in your body, that feeling you're feeling in your body that's jumping around all over the place. You will allow the joy to heal that as well. Therefore, we would highly recommend that when you begin to feel this feeling, you allow yourself to understand that 1, this too shall pass, and 2, it is in the process of healing itself, and there's nothing more you need to do. You just need to be who you are and allow it.
So, you know how if you look at nature and you look at animals and they experience trauma and they shake like crazy, right? Yeah. It's like they're shaking out the trauma. And I've heard this comparison. I wish I could remember from who. But the idea that a lot of times with humans, like we go into like fight, flight, or freeze mode, or I've also heard fawn, like fight, where you react, so you're dispelling energy through a reaction to protect yourself. Flight is getting the hell out of there. Freeze is where you literally freeze and do nothing. And recently I've heard a friend use fawn, which is, I don't know, the way she described it was more like you don't freeze, you don't fight, but you're still like in this situation, but trying to make it better in whatever way you know how. It's like another way of coping. Anyway, we don't necessarily shake, right? We do something else, and then later on when you address the trauma, that sometimes the shaking can be a way of like the animalistic way of shaking the trauma out of your body. And it's still going. It kind of came back as they were channeling again, and I'm feeling it in different parts of my body. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I thought that was like an interesting analogy and comparison.
I've never heard that. I heard of the fight or flight, but I hadn't heard freeze added to it. And I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, I experienced freeze because that's mostly what I would do.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do, so I would just freeze.
I think same here. Not that, I mean, I haven't had a lot like significant trauma, but more like emotional situations that were extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I can relate to with the fawn one, because it wasn't like the fight, flight, or freeze didn't quite match what I did, but that fawn of like, let me like make jokes to make it light and make everyone more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a very codependent coping mechanism. Interesting. I think that's really good, helpful information, so that people understand that, you know, I think of, we did this, remember last time we got together, this little drawing of, I'm curious what they say about this. Oh, well, they already kind of told us that day, but we'll ask them again. This idea that, you know, here's me in the here and now, this ego self that is Kelly, but I've lived other lifetimes as other ego selves,
yeah.
Right? But they're all connected to me in spirit. So I have this connection point, which I think is what they're calling the super self, right? But the idea that because I'm connected in spirit via my super self, that my now self can experience kind of energetic reverberations from other lifetimes, which is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, but the way I see it, it's like these other lifetime experiences are not out here and not there.
No,
they're all here.
Yeah.
They're all the self.
Yeah.
They're all me. Yes, and the experience that when one connects to the super self, it's all there because it's all been lived by me. So maybe I did it in a lifetime over here, or I did it in a lifetime of, I don't know, different parts of the earth, or not even on the earth, wherever.
Yeah.
But maybe because I've experienced it differently in different places, I might see that as being offshoots.
Yeah.
But they're not really offshoots. They are me experiencing it here and bringing that information to me, and me experience it there and bringing that information to me. And then I can experience it, and whatever it is all me, and it's all contained in this super self and spirit who has experienced it all and has, you know, and just knows it all.
Ooh,
but it's
okay.
all me.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Maybe this is the last one of the day. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have your super self,
right,
higher self, whatever, and I'm curious if there's a difference between higher self and super self, but if you have your super self, and I have my super self, and everyone else has their super selves, and we are one,
right,
and we are connected to this single source, I guess I would love for them to explain the differentiation. Why are we talking about it like we are separate?
It is important to understand that each one is separate on the earth plane only. When one allows oneself to understand the dynamics of the energetic plane, there is only energy, and each one is always energy, and each energy is part of all the energy. Therefore, it's like that we are all one. That's where that kind of comes from, that phrase. And when one comes to the earth plane, one brings themselves, their knowledge of all their experiences, and comes to the earth plane to add to that knowledge. And one can only come to the earth plane by being oneself. One cannot come to the earth plane by being another or in spirit. One needs to come in the physical individually. However, on the spiritual plane, it's all energy, and the energy is all connected to all the other energy, which is all connected to source energy. Do not be concerned. There are many things on the spiritual plane that cannot be understood on the earth plane, and that is one of them. Do not be concerned. All is love.
And that drives this Aries crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think that's good for today, don't you think?
I think so.
Thanks for watching.